Hey, welcome back to the channel. Got a little something on the bench for you here. So I'm just going to go through some things about the gimbals in your radio. So this is kind of just about any radio out there that has the Hall effect gimbals inside. I just want to show you when you're putting a #1 Phillips screwdriver down through the hole in the back of the radio so that you can make adjustments. I just want to show you what you're doing in there, so what's happening when you make those adjustments, and kind of go through a couple scenarios of what these things are on the side, and how do you increase or decrease tension, how can you get the ratcheting feel. Just going to go through that real quick, and what's happening when you push your screwdriver down through the back side of the radio, so like these holes in the back plate, where's that going and what is it doing? So that's what this is about, so stay tuned. Alright, so inside our radio here, I'll zoom in on a gimbal and we'll start off. Let's go ahead and start off with our throttle side. So I'll go ahead and zoom in here for you. Alright, so inside here we have so this is the throttle. Okay, so we throttle up and down and yaw left and right. So that's what we're dealing with. So inside here, if we want to increase or decrease the strength of that, so when the stick moves up, we want it to be really strong to push against. What we'll do is we'll add tension to the spring. So you see this little spring on here? So there's another one on the other side. So when we tighten those springs down, we push against that gimbal. So there's a little cam down inside here. I don't know if you can see that. Can you see? I had to kind of blow out my image here, but you can see there's a cam right there. And that plastic cam is being pushed against by these spring tensioners. And you can see on mine, because I've had to kind of tighten it up over time because it does get a little bit looser. But that's the force against the stick movement. So as you tighten this, it creates tension against this cam roller here. On these are AG01 gimbals, and as that rotates up and down, it's sliding against that tensioner. Now, that tensioner, you increase it by tightening it down. And then if you want your gimbal to be really loose, let me focus in here for you. If you want that gimbal to be really, really loose, so when you're, like almost when you set it up, it just kind of slides down on its own. If you really want that loose, you're just going to back that screw out. So you just turn the screw counterclockwise to raise the tension off of it. This one here next to it, you can see that little divot right there. That's how you add ratcheting. So if you want your throttle to have a little bit of ratcheting feeling, you can add tension to that. So let me go ahead and push it in with my finger, and let me get it up to the microphone. Can you kind of hear that? I don't know if you can hear like the little ratcheting sound. So that little divot right there in this tensioner will add a little ratchet, because that cam on the other side has a little bit of teeth to it. If you like that type of thing, which I don't, because I have mine backed all the way out, so you can see that it's not even doing anything. I don't like ratchet on my throttle. The other thing is when you're moving your throttle up and down, if you feel like it's dragging instead of being smooth and with tension, but you feel it kind of dragging, then you need to take the spring off these two screws here and these two screws here, and remove this spring and put some lubrication in there. That's how you get the feeling on your throttle. So that's as you move that up and down, that's the only thing doing that. So if this spring breaks, or you have, sorry, I don't mean to, it's just, I'm wanting to zoom in on this for you, but I keep moving it around, sorry. But if you increase the tension on that or decrease the tension on it, it doesn't take much. So don't crank down on it real hard, because if you break that little plastic post right there, your gimbal's going to be really sloppy. But if you do have an issue where your gimbal is just really, really sloppy, that spring is either broken or it's just aged to the point where it's lost its tension, or this screw has stripped out, something along those lines. Now, yaw is different. Okay, so yaw is this little cam action right here. You see this? See how it's teeter-tottering in there? You see this, the metal part right here? See how that's teeter up and down, and then it centers. Okay, if you let go of it, it centers. So that's happening by that spring tension right there. Now, you can add and increase and decrease the amount of tension that's on there. If I put my hex drive down in there, I can turn this in and I can turn it out. Okay, and what's happening is that hex screw it's basically lifting a carriage. There's a little hook on it that spring is attached to, and that carriage goes up and down on that screw. That carriage is I think it's made of plastic. I hope you could see down in here. Let me see if I can zoom in here for you. So do you see that? Do you see that right there? That little white. Move this back out of the way here. Oops, too far. See that white piece right there? So when you go in here with a hex driver, and you can raise and lower that carriage, and it'll increase the spring tension. So that'll give you more tension on your yaw when you go back and forth, and it will center your yaw more aggressively if you add. So if you stretch this spring, so if you go counterclockwise, let's see if I can, I don't know if I can film this or not. Let me see if I can hold this just right. See how see how that carriage is coming up and then it's going down? See how I'm right there? I made my yaw not as snappy, because I'm as that raises up, the spring tension is less. And then if I go counterclockwise, you see that little, can you see that little white plastic carriage getting further away? It's stretching the spring. So now there's a lot more tension on it. If I keep going, you don't want to go too far, because that carriage will come off the end. I don't think there's an E-clip on the other side, but see how there's so much space between right in there? There's just so much space. So I don't care for my, I don't like that much tension on my yaw. I do like more tension on my yaw than throttle. But I just kind of move it back and forth here. That's too much. So that's a little better. So now that's starting to get a little sloppy. I'd rather have a little bit more. So I'm going to go counterclockwise. I like that. That's about where I want it. Okay. So that's how you get a little bit more yaw tension, is from that hex drive right there. Now the last thing on the gimbal is, you see this little rocker right here? See that dude right there? I have it disabled. I don't want my throttle to spring load back. So I don't want it to do that when I'm using my throttle. So I have that rocker disabled. Okay. See that little screw right there? That screw goes all the way through, and there's a cradle right here. Now on the other side, we don't have that cradle in use. So there's no screw going through. So that means that rocker, when I go pitch down, up, down, up, down, do you see that rocker moving? Okay. See that rocker moving there? You can disable that on your throttle side by putting a screw through there and resting it in this cradle, which disables it, because now it doesn't move. It's locked in place, and it's not putting any tension on your throttle. Get what I'm saying? But if you do, like if you're, I don't know, if you're 3D or wing or plane or whatever the case may be, and you want your throttle to be spring loaded, this is what you need to remove that screw, and then this rocker will drive the gimbal to a center point, and it'll have some spring load against it, just like this one here with this rocker. Okay, so that's pretty much the ends of as far as the gimbal. The other side's exactly the same scenario. So you have these tensioners here. You have a ratcheting tensioner, and then you have a non-ratcheting tensioner. But I don't use either one of these spring loads, because I have this gimbal is being ran by the spring. So I have this spring, which I just talked about here. Okay. And so that spring is running my roll, and then this spring here is running my pitch up and down. And you see that little hole right there, that little hex hole? It's the same scenario for this one as this little hex hole here is for that spring, just like that hex hole for this spring. Okay. So that's about it. If you have any questions, let me know in comments. Let me go ahead and zoom out of here for you. If you have any questions in comments, let me know. But that's kind of what's happening when you go inside there. I find it a lot easier, personally, just to pop the back off of it. You just take the 2 screws first. You take the 2 screws out of here, and then there's 2 screws, one here and one here, and 2 screws here and here, and that's it. The back plate, just literally takes right off. I was in here replacing this battery, so there should be a video on my channel for how to do that and what it is. But hey, if this helped you out in any way, let me know. If you have any questions and comments, let me know. And if you would, give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. If you hated it, you give it a thumbs down. It all works. Enjoy the breeze.